Otherwise, what should we say about the North Koreans that are fighting for the Russian side? Hundreds of them. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is going to be sworn in as president next Monday. He promised to end the war in Ukraine in one day. Later, he changed that to bringing Ukraine and Russia to the negotiating table. How is that war going, and how and when do you expect it to end?
Yeah, well, the state of play in the war, the Russians have sort of created something of an exaggerated narrative in the fact that they're on offense, and they are, and Ukrainians are on defense, and therefore they're winning. That's not a fact. In a year's time, Andrew, being on offense, the Russians have gone no further than 40 to 50 kilometers in a year with this offensive operation. They have suffered 30,000 casualties a month, except for October when it was 57. They're losing 100 to 150 tanks and armored vehicles a month, and only able to replace 25 to 30 out of their defense industrial base. In 2025, this is going to come to a head. They have serious personnel problems, and as I'm describing here, and you mentioned one of the things that they work very hard to obtain, and that is to get North Korea to come into the war. Now, this is the most significant escalation of the war since the war started. It hasn't been a long-range missile. It hasn't been an airplane. It hasn't been a tank. It's the fact that another nation state with its troops are on the ground fighting on the side of Russia. And the reality is he needs people. And he's going to have to go to a mobilization of some sort in 25. He doesn't want to do it because it has huge political ramifications. Not surprising, the Russian support for the war is eroding, given it's been protracted, and Putin doesn't have much to show for it. What do I think is going to happen here, Andrew, is the General Kellogg is the special envoy for Ukraine, and his objective given to him by Donald Trump is to achieve some kind of a ceasefire and a peace agreement. The first place he came was to the ISW, the Institute for the Study of War think tank. We took him through about 3 hours of the state of play in some detail. We discussed some negotiating things, and we also made the point to him, and this is vital, and he understands it, that any ceasefire or peace agreement that Putin makes, he looks at it as just a temporary pause so he can rearm, regroup, reorganize as much as possible, and a point when it's right for him politically, reattack. His aspirations to take control of Ukraine and topple a government have not changed one iota. Therefore, whatever settlement is made, we must strengthen Ukraine's ability to deter that operation that Putin is going to conduct in the future.
General, I'm so glad that you had a chance to say right at the very top of Trump's effort here, the sort of things you've been telling us. This is good news. Briefly to the other war, I'm running out of time, but I do want your opinion on this. We still do not know if Israel and the Hamas terrorist group will agree to this ceasefire deal. We were told it could even be signed today. Hamas releasing another 33 Jewish hostages, some actually who may be dead, in exchange for Israel pulling back in Gaza and releasing Palestinians convicted of murder and terror offences. The deal reported is Hamas releases a prisoner in batches of 3 in exchange each time for 100 or more Palestinians, terrorists, which seems to me a very dangerous deal for Israel and one that would give Hamas some kind of victory. How do you see this war panning out?
Yeah, well, I think we are on the verge of some kind of ceasefire and a hostage and prisoner exchange. I mean, we've been here before, Andrew, you know that, over the last year or so. But this one feels a little bit different. And it looks like, and my Israeli sources are telling me, this will likely happen within the next few days. Of course, those statements have been made before. But yeah, it's always tough here because we're releasing absolute terrorists, thugs, and killers. And that was one of the sticking points. There were certain names that Netanyahu did not want to release whatsoever, and he was put his foot down on that. And then the sticking point that has held this deal up is, what does it look like after the ceasefire? Is Hamas wants all the Israelis to leave. The Israelis do not want to do that. And that has held up the deal because why? Mohammed Sinwar, the brother of Sinwar, who used to be the leader, who the Israelis killed, has wanted the same end state. All Israelis gone. Israelis are not going to do that. So if there's a deal, Sinwar will agree at least to some of what I just mentioned is what the Israelis have on the table. And it looks like that is likely going to take place.
General Keane, always fascinated to hear someone so well informed and so influential in these negotiations. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, Andrew, and always to your audience. Thank you.